Hi, my name is Dominique Dusek, and I'm the Assistant Director of Accessibility Services here at University of St. Francis. And in today's video, we'll explore the process of registering for accommodation in the college setting and what that process entails. In order to discuss disability-related accommodations, we have to unpack the legal framework around it. The Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990, and it's a civil rights law that protects the rights of individuals with disabilities to equal participation in programs, including those at a university. This law defines disability as any physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major living activities. Major living activities being considered essential activities to normal daily functioning, like reading, writing, walking, listening, even using the bathroom normally. When many people think of a disability, they often may think of a specific diagnosis like ADHD. However, diagnosis alone doesn't constitute disability status. As seen in the definition of the Americans with Disabilities Act, a disability must be a substantial impairment. So professionals in the disability services field will consider factors like the duration, impact, and even context or situation surrounding the particular person seeking disability accommodations when those professionals are making judgments. Context is part of the reason why disability services professionals emphasize that accommodations are determined on a case-by-case basis, looking at all of the information. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to determining a disability accommodations. If you received accommodation in high school, either through an individualized education plan or a 504, some of this information may sound familiar. However, you may be surprised to learn that there are also some major differences between receiving accommodation at the high school level and at the college level. At the post-secondary or college level, students are expected to self-identify and initiate conversations about accommodation needed, since students are legal adults. Accommodations are intended to allow students with disabilities equal access to programs and opportunities, the same as their non-disabled peers. However, these supports do not necessarily guarantee success within a program. Students are always accountable for meeting the academic requirements of a program or course. The first step in the accommodations process is to self-identify, or to contact the Office of Accessibility Services at the university to indicate that you have a disability-related need. To substantiate your needs, you'll want to provide documentation from a qualified medical care or service care provider. Some examples of service care providers include, but are not limited to, your doctor, a specialist, a neurologist, psychologist, social worker. Documentation should be current and on official letterhead from the treating or diagnosing professional. It should identify the diagnosis and any barriers or limitations that the person experiences as a result of the diagnosis. This documentation can be faxed or it can be uploaded along with the initial registration form the student completes. The initial registration form can be completed online at the student's own discretion. Please note that all disability-specific information received by the Office of Accessibility Services is considered private and confidential. OAS only shares limited information with parties who have a legitimate educational interest and who are necessary to facilitate accommodation needs. Once you obtain the appropriate documentation for your disability, you'll want to complete the online initial registration form. A link to that form is available through the QR code on this slide or through a direct link shared by the Office of Accessibility Services staff. This online form will include our office's confidentiality statement, so you know how your information will be handled, and it will also include information about the student's rights and responsibilities. When completing this form, students will have the option to upload documents from their care provider. To discuss and finalize accommodation requests, students will need to meet with OAS staff for an initial interview. During this interview, students should be prepared to answer questions about their academic strengths and challenges, how their disability affects them, particularly in a learning environment, if they've received accommodations before, what kinds of supports have been most helpful to them historically, and what accommodations they're requesting at USF. Based on the information that the student shares about themselves and the information from that student's care provider, OAS will then draft a letter of approved accommodations to be sent to the student's professors as well as to the student themselves. These letters of accommodation are always sent via email from oas@stfrancis.edu. They're marked high importance. We strongly encourage students to save a copy of these letters for their records and also to follow up with the appropriate faculty either through email or in person to touch base. If the student discovers that their letters of accommodation contain an error, or if they have questions or concerns about the accommodations listed there, they should contact OAS immediately. There you have it, the accommodation registration process from initial disclosure to the letters of accommodation being sent. Once you've completed this process, you will still need to renew accommodations each term that you intend to use them, but that process becomes much simpler and much more streamlined. This process may seem somewhat overwhelming to students, and it may significantly differ from what you're used to in high school. Therefore, you're strongly encouraged to contact 815-740-3204 or oas@stfrancis.edu with any questions or concerns along the way. We're always happy to help. Thank you so much for your time.